Good morning, everyone. This is my third attempt. People keep coming into my kitchen unannounced. Anyway, I got all dressed up this morning and I've nowhere to go. I did my hair, I put on my makeup, I got out of my jeans and a t-shirt and my slippers and I got dressed, but I've still got nowhere to go. How many of you are missing going to a coffee shop, having a latte, maybe a nice tasty scone, raspberry and white chocolate perhaps? Well, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to make a raspberry and white chocolate scone so that you can pretend that you're going out for coffee. And maybe you could even FaceTime somebody and they could have some scones and coffee with you and you can catch up in some chat. So first of all, I have got in my bowl, hard to see white and white, 250 grams of self-raising flour, and then I have made it up to 600 grams with soda bread flour. Then I've got 175 grams of soft margarine, but you can use any margarine, and some butter. And a really technical way of doing the caster sugar, but I'm going to do 2 handfuls of caster sugar. Simple as that. Okay, and the first task is to rub the butter into the flour and sugar. So you literally just rub it through your fingertips till you can get the whole mixture looking like breadcrumbs. Now for these, I'm going to use little white chocolate chips. If you've got any chocolate in the house, it doesn't have to be white, but obviously traditionally it's white chocolate and raspberry. But if you've got some chocolate bars or, you know, in the cupboard, chop them up and they can be added instead of the chocolate chips. But I've got white chocolate chips and I'm using frozen raspberries because if you use frozen raspberries, your mixture doesn't go sort of a grey kind of colour, because if you use fresh raspberries, they mush into the dough and then they give you sort of a bit of a grey mixture. Now to this mixture as well, I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda as well. And that's just going to give you the lift in your scone. So I'm just lifting it up to get lots of air into the mixture. I'm rubbing the fat through my fingertips and I'm just going to get it until it's a lovely breadcrumb. Now, of course, you can put it into a food processor and that'll work just as well, far quicker, of course. But we're not in any mad rush this morning. Well, apart from I promised my husband a scone by 11:30 and hopefully there'll be some. So I'm just, as you can see, just getting all the butter mixed in. And I find this so therapeutic. I used to work in coffee shops baking over the years, and I don't know how many scones I have made. Thousands and thousands, I'd have to say. Every morning your first job is to make scones, obviously, so that they're fresh and ready for the coffee shop. But would you believe this morning I couldn't remember the recipe for the scones, so I'm hoping this will work. It will work. It'll work. Of course it'll work. So that's all mixed in. And I'll just show you. So it's just, if you can see, it's hard to see, but it's just very, very fine breadcrumbs sort of texture, and you've got no lumps of fat. And that just means all the fat is mixed and coating the flour, and you'll not get little pockets of butter in the middle of your scone, you know, making your dough a bit strange. So I'm just going to wash my hands now. So the next thing we need to do is bring it all together with some buttermilk. So I've got, now it's not an exact science with the buttermilk. You need to just see the texture of your dough. Sometimes you need a little less, sometimes you need a little bit more. So I've put in about 250 mils of buttermilk into my jug. I'm just going to add 1 egg. And then I'm just going to give it a good swoosh round until it's all mixed together. That's the buttermilk and egg. Now I have a little bit more buttermilk there that if I need it, I can use it. And there again, I may not need all of this. So we'll just see what my flour, it just depends on the flour you're using. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, just use normal semi-skimmed milk with some an egg in it as well. And if you want, just add like a teaspoon of vinegar to it, and that'll make the milk turn into like a buttermilk and give you that sort of sour flavour that buttermilk has, that just adds to your scone mixture. So I'm just going to add this gradually into the centre of my mix, and just bring it together little by little from the edges. Just bring a little bit more in. Just add a little, because you can't take it out, of course, but you can add it in. So just adding a little bit more. Keep bringing the dough together. There we go, it's coming together nicely. And then just a wee bit more. There we go. I'm probably going to need all of this. So that's just about 250 mils of buttermilk, and 1 egg is going to bring my mixture together, I would say, perfectly. So if you can see, the mixture's coming together quite nicely, but I'm actually just going to go in now with my hands and just bring the rest of that dough together. Just bring it together. Let me see if I can tip you forward a wee bit more, and you can see just tipping, bringing it all together like that. There you go, until you get a nice dough. Of course, it would have been a good idea to take off the diamonds before we did that, because now I'm going to have scone mixture in my rings. Excellent. So there, I brought the dough together. Nice dough. Okay, so let's just get a nice surface to work from. So I've just moved you around to my work surface, and I'm going to bring out the dough onto the work surface. And I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on so that I've lightly floured the work surface. I'm going to lightly flour my hands, and I'm just going to knead the dough, just to bring all the bits together. And I'm just not doing it very hard, just gently bringing it all together. Just make sure your work surface is still nice and floured, and then we're just going to flatten it down. So I don't use a rolling pin, I literally just use the heel of my hand, and I just go in and I flatten it down like that. And this is where we're going to add in some raspberries and some chocolate chips. So I've got some frozen raspberries here, and I'm just going to press them into the dough. Press them into the dough. Okay. No exact science, just add as many as you can fit in, really. Okay, and this is 1 bag of chocolate chips. Keep some because you want to drizzle some chocolate chips over the top of your scone at the end, but I've put some there. Just going to wash my hands there so I don't mix in too much of the raspberry. And I'm just then going to literally fold the dough over the contents of, so it's over the raspberries and over the chocolate chips. Okay, keep your work surface nice and floured so that you can just mix that again, and then I'm going to just a wee bit more flour there so it doesn't stick. Again, using the heel of your hand, just press that down to the thickness that you want your scones to be. I don't like them too thin, so it's I would say that's about 3 or 4 centimeters thick. And I have a round pastry cutter, which is ideal for the scones. So you could, probably a good idea just to give it a wee bit of flour around the edge of it, and then just cut out your scone. And that's what your scone will look like. So I'll just keep cutting out my scones. Now, a few wee tips with this is, so I'm going to cook these off in the oven now, just to give us some fresh scones for this morning to have with our coffee. But you can freeze them. Now, you can either freeze them like this, which is in their raw state, just freeze them on a flat tray, and they can then be taken out of the freezer and baked whenever you want them, and that's lovely because they're nice and fresh when you bake them then. Or you can cook them, bake them, and then freeze them, but they'll need a wee warm up before you would serve them then, you know, the next time you're using them. So I am going to get, how many am I getting out of that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, should get about 12. Because normally whenever I was making large batches in the coffee shops, you were wanting maybe 20 of them, so that we get 12. So just don't mush around with your mixture too much, because as you can see, the raspberry is starting to melt and get a bit mushy, and that's when your dough will turn sort of a purpley colour. So that's the last one I'm going to get out of that. And that wee scrap, well, you can roll it into a wee ball if you want to and bake it up. That's usually the chef's little extra, but that's our scones there. So now I'm just going to get a baking tray. And again, I've floured the baking tray, and this just stops them sticking. So I'm just going to put them onto the baking tray, give them a good wee space apart, because they will puff up in the oven. I'll get 9 in that, and I'll sort out another one. And then I'm just going to get my little brush, and I'm just going to dip my brush into the little bit of buttermilk that I've got left over. I'm just going to brush the top of it, and that will give the scones just a sort of a golden topping. There we go. So these are going to go into the oven for about, let's look. We'll try after 25 minutes and see what they look like and see if they're well risen and golden. So I'm putting them into the oven, 160 degrees Fahrenheit, no, 160 degrees centigrade, gas mark 4, and that is a fan oven. Okay, and we'll see you back in 20 minutes. Okay, so my scones are out of the oven. Don't worry if they go a wee bit sort of sideways, because of the raspberries, sometimes the mix goes, see that one there, it just kind of falls over, but there's some lovely ones. This is a perfect one that you would use for Instagram, but they're just full of raspberries and chocolate, and they just look delicious. So what I'm going to do now is the rest of the chocolate chips that I have, I'm just going to pop them into the microwave and just melt that down 30 seconds at a time. Especially with white chocolate, it burns so easily. It wouldn't be the first time that I've ended up with white chocolate with sort of singed bits in the middle. But so I'm going to melt down these chocolate chips, and then I'm going to drizzle them over the top of the scones. And while that's happening, I've put on some milk in my milk frother, and I'm going to make a latte to go with the scone. So it doesn't look like it's done anything at 30, but don't be tempted to put it on for a minute, because that's when things can go awry. Just while that's continuing on, I've just opened up one of those scones, and you get a lovely soft texture, lovely and fluffy inside, which would be just a lot delicious with some butter and raspberry jam. Right, let's have a look at this. Just beginning to catch now, so give it another 30. Have to be patient, don't be tempted to cheat. Therapeutically listening to the microwave, swooshing round and round. And I'm going to get some raspberry jam and some butter. Put that on my scone. Okay, so look now. Really starting to come now, so probably just one more 30 should have that well and truly melted down. There we go. So I've got that nicely raspberried up. Now let's have some coffee. I've got some frothy milk. If I could get the lid off. Yummy, I just missed looking at that. Way, that looks really good. And I'm going to be very kind and give that to my hard-working husband in his at-home office. Okay, let's have a look and see what the white chocolate's doing. Yep, that's us melted now. So, just going to take the white chocolate and drizzle it over the top of the scones. These scones took about 25 minutes just to get them really golden, but it'll just depend on your oven whether it's 20 to 25. Yummy, 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 yummy. Oh, this is the best bit. Oh, I love the white chocolate on the top of the raspberry, and that's a particularly nice looking one there. And nearly there. Yeah. Right, and I'll finish those off in a minute, but I'm going to take this in to my husband. Anna, can you open the door for me, pet?
Yeah.
Thank you. Coffee break time?
Mm-hmm.
Can you stop for a minute?
Yeah.
There you are. There you go.
Thank you.
Latte and a raspberry and white chocolate scone.
Oh, lovely.
Enjoy.
I will.
See you soon.
Bye.
Yummy, I just missed looking at that. Way, that looks really good. And I'm going to be very kind and give that to my hard-working husband in his at-home office. Okay, let's have a look and see what the white chocolate's doing. Yep, that's us melted now. So, just going to take the white chocolate and drizzle it over the top of the scones. These scones took about 25 minutes just to get them really golden, but it'll just depend on your oven whether it's 20 to 25. Yummy, 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 yummy. Oh, this is the best bit. Oh, I love the white chocolate on the top of the raspberry, and that's a particularly nice looking one there. And nearly there. Yeah. Right, and I'll finish those off in a minute, but I'm going to take this in to my husband. Anna, can you open the door for me, pet?
Yeah.
Thank you. Coffee break time.
Mm-hmm.
Can you stop for a minute?
Yeah.
There you are. There you go.
Thank you.
Latte and a raspberry and white chocolate scone.
Oh, lovely.
Enjoy.
I will.
See you soon.
Bye.